I'm Julie Bogart from Brave Writer, and today I want to talk to you about online writing classes and also how you plan a good writing life for the fall, for the coming year. If this is something that you think your friends would benefit from, please share this video or the replay wherever you're viewing it. We like to get this information out so that I don't endlessly repeat myself on the telephone. Our online class program is unique in the world of online writing programs, and here's why. I designed it with myself in mind. What do I mean by that? Well, I was a homeschool mother, just like many of you. I had 5 kids. I knew that I had difficulty sustaining commitments. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, the last thing I ever wanted in my life was someone telling me that every Tuesday and Thursday at 10 a.m. I had to be home with a headset, that we could never take advantage of the zoo on a Tuesday because there's a class online that my kid has to be logged into. I also didn't like the pressure of knowing that the technology had to work right when I needed it to work. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't want to have to download something special. I didn't want to worry that my camera might not really jive with whatever's going on. I didn't want to have to show up live. What I really wanted was a way to be guided through material at my own pace, at a level of commitment that I knew I could achieve successfully. Our online classes in Brave Writer are only 3 to 6 weeks in length for a reason. You know what happens, right? Homeschoolers can't do a full semester. It's hard for them. Somebody gets pneumonia. You might be pregnant, about to have a baby. Maybe you're going to move. Maybe your child's in select soccer and you know she's got a tournament in November that takes you out of town. Getting behind is the least pleasurable feeling you can have as a home educator, isn't it? Being behind, being out of the loop, being out of step. One of the reasons I homeschooled instead of putting my kids in school was just to be relieved of paperwork and deadlines other people set for me. I loved having control over my schedule and over what we learned. So when Brave Writer started online classes, I started with these short bursts of time, 3 to 6 weeks. In fact, our very first class was 8 weeks, and I thought that was too long. So I cut 2 weeks out of it, and we never went back. Here's why. You start to lose your enthusiasm after about a month. A month and a half is about the limit to what you can keep your motivation for. When we say 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks, there is a moment where the inertia sets in and you just feel like it's too long, too much. When I was in college, we did a 10-week quarter system at UCLA, which I absolutely adored. There was always that feeling of like bursting through the information and then having a break and then bursting through the next set. And I took fewer classes at a time that way. When I did semesters in grad school, I did not find it nearly as enjoyable because I felt like we hit that sag, that moment where you're just, it's too much. Part of what makes homeschooling so awesome is that you can do a deep dive. You can commit for a burst of energy and you can know that there's relief on the other side. So our classes are 3 to 6 weeks, and you can decide what you want for your kids. We have one little series of classes called Write for Fun, and there are 3 different versions of it, and they can go in any sequence. And those classes are literally 3 weeks long. My mother, the published author who's working on her, 85th book or something, teaches those classes. And she tells me that the most frequent comment at the end of the 3 weeks is, wait, it's over? Oh, I want to do more. And then she says, well, just sign up for another one. What happens is kids get to the end of a really successful 3-week experience and they haven't expended all their writing energy. They actually have some in reserve. They're able to think the thought, it would be great to write more. Can you imagine that being your kids? As opposed to, oh my gosh, if I have to write one more paper, I'm just going to scream. Think about the difference between leaving them wanting more and them just being like, I can't face the end. We had a joke in our family, my husband at the time and I, with our kids, when we'd go to parties or barbecues or fairs, we always had this rule: leave while they're happy. Leave while they're happy. You don't want to leave when everybody's starting to have the meltdown. You know, you've been at Disneyland for too long when you can't get from the Magic Kingdom castle to your car without everybody melting down. You know what I'm saying? We wanted to leave while people had a really positive feeling. Maybe even a little bit sad that it's time to go, because that means they're going to leave with that positive sense of the whole experience. If you end an experience resentful, exhausted, overworked, do you want to go back and do it again? Or are you like, I never want to come back, even if you got a lot of good things out of it? So these semester length and year-long writing programs that so many of us sign up for at co-ops and online, they actually follow the school model. But I'm always thinking about home. I'm about home. I'm about what works with home. Do I want to lose one child from the group of 5 at 10 a.m. once or twice a week to be online separate from the rest of us? Do I want to always have to drive home from wherever I am and make sure I'm on time at, 1 in the afternoon on a Wednesday? I didn't. So when I designed Brave Writer's online class program, I wanted it to be asynchronous so that I was in charge, the parent was in charge of how they participate and when. Not only that, 40% of the Brave Writer family lives outside of North America. Did you know that? Well, outside of the United States. I'm sure some of those people in that 40% are Canadian. But what I'm saying is a large percentage, let's say maybe 35%, of our community doesn't live in the typical North American time zones. So how fair is that to Australia to feel like they're always participating on replay or having to set the alarm for 3 a.m. in order to participate? I never wanted that. I wanted our classes to always feel like when you were participating, 2 things were true. You were at the height of your interest and commitment to paying attention, and you were doing it in a way that suited your homeschool schedule, so that you were making Brave Writer adapt to you rather than making you adapt to Brave Writer. What that means is, because there's no specific login time, your child can literally choose what time of day to log in. And that means all the information is still sitting there. There's no specific live moment in class, even though the teachers, the instructors are real people operating in real time. Let me give you an example of how that happens in your life right now and you understand it. Facebook. For those of you who use Facebook, you understand this. You post a status update and you don't expect that everybody who's going to read it is online the moment you post that status update. You post it, you go away, do your shopping, feed the baby, clean the house, you come back, and 6 or 8 people have commented on it, right? Because according to their time zone, when it came across their feed, they were ready to give you a meaningful reply. That's how Brave Writer works. We have a page in our classroom on the first front page that will have all the assignments and readings and notes from the instructor. You'll click on that link and it will open to information that's valuable to you and or your student. You read that information, you read the due date for the assignment, and then you leave. But you come when it's convenient to you. You come when you're ready to read. It's not 10 in the morning with a headset, with someone speaking at you, and you don't really feel like paying attention, or you're checked out because you didn't get enough sleep. No, because all the information stays on the classroom and is waiting for you, you can come when you're ready to read it. And because you're reading, you have to bring your best self. Reading doesn't come to you. You come to it. You have to pay attention. And the words that you're reading are building the vocabulary you will use for writing responses. How cool is that? When someone's talking, it's not encoding the language and vocabulary in the same way. Not only that, very hard to rewind and reread a video. You can rewind it, but you may miss that moment. You may not know exactly where to look back, whereas with reading, you can reread, you can scan. You are literally forming pictures in your brain of where the words are located on the screen, so that if you do need to clarify to yourself something you read and you can't remember it exactly, your brain is going to remind you, yeah, it was sort of on the right-hand side, a third of the way from the top, 2/3 from the bottom, and your eyes will start scanning to hook back in. All of that contributes to your writing skill. Did you know that? You're literally, when you come to Brave Writer, engaging in the acts that enhance your ability to write. You're reading the language, you're building that internal vocabulary, you're thinking in terms of written words, not oral words. And when you go to write, you're using the skill called writing to ask questions, to clarify what you don't understand, and to produce your assignments. In other words, talking gets you nowhere in a Brave Writer class. You have to talk through the keyboard with your fingers. And even though kids don't feel like they're writing when they do that, that is exactly what they're doing. They are literally training themselves how to self-express in written language in a clear way, even when they ask a question or make a comment on somebody else's work. So in our classroom of asynchronicity, you can log in when you want, you can read it when it's convenient, you can go away and do the work on a separate day when that's the best time for you, and then come back and post that content in time for the due date. All of this is happening through reading and writing, not through the visual of somebody talking at you lecturing and you being in a passive, receptive listening mode. Now, I've had parents say to me, but my child is auditory. Yeah, I know, but writing isn't. So we want to train that auditory listener into writing, which means they do have to go through that discomfort of reading and the practice of typing to express their thoughts. That's why it's brilliant for them. Oh, my child is so relational. She's visual. She needs to see the smile of the instructor. But that's not what reading and writing are. They're blind communication. You don't have a human face guiding you in that moment when you're writing. But what you might have is written expression undistracted, freed from all the judgments we make of a person whose face we've seen, whose personality and lisp and, glasses that weren't quite straight, that distract us from the content. How many times have you been in a class with a teacher where you haven't liked the teacher? Maybe her verbal delivery just bugs you, and that distracts you from the content. In Brave Writer, we're all about the actual written word, both in reading and in writing. And so our classes are designed to maximize that experience. And if you have a child who's really reliant on the visual connection for learning, see this as an opportunity to expand the palette, to be able to learn in another modality. Interestingly, today in the college scene, and I teach at Xavier University, I teach freshmen there, we use online classroom style tools constantly. Yes, we do have lectures, but we do a surprising amount now online where we will post an assignment and have written discussion about that assignment, where we talk about the reading. Students always ask me questions through the online tools, not through phone calls, not through office hours. They are habituated through the Facebook, Instagram, texting world to communicate remotely. So that is the world of universities today. And what they're inviting students to do is to be fluent with the skill of online communication, in addition to going to a lecture, taking notes, and writing a paper. Your kids in a Brave Writer class are actually getting the introduction to that tool and skill set that is so common on college campuses today. Our classroom is custom designed for Brave Writer, and it is built in such a way as to make it easy for your students to know what's happening each week, to know which posts are readings, which posts are assignments. They have ways to ask questions every single week, and the instructor, who lives in her own time zone, is going to reply during the times that are convenient to her. But there's no fixed office hours. Like literally any time in a 3 to 6 week course, even on weekends, even at night, even if you live in New Zealand, you can post a question. And that teacher within 24 hours will give a personal reply that everyone on the classroom can read. And then if you post an assignment, for most assignments, teachers can give feedback within 48 hours. Now, for longer things like a research paper, we ask for a little more time, but we make that all very clear in the classes themselves. Here's the point. The reading and writing contribute to growing your child as a writer. And I've kind of died on this hill. I mean, you see how powerful video is. That's why you're here this morning. I love doing video with you. But I've taught writing in person now for 15 years. I've done it at the college level. I've done it at the co-op level. I've done it in small groups. I've done it in weekend workshops. None of it compares to the results we get in Brave Writer through our online writing and reading program. And the reason is this. I believe that students literally shift how they read when they are only able to communicate through typing and writing. When their only point of connection with the instructor is through what they do in writing, where they have to imagine this blind communication and make themselves clear without hand gestures, without facial expressions, without all that body language. They are literally shifting how they approach writing into a life of writing. They are learning written self-expression, and that contributes to their ability to write a letter or a report or an essay or a lap book. Make sense? One of the things that's been really fun for me to watch, and we've been doing this now since, my very first online class was in the fall of 1999. So you do the math. That's coming up on 18 years. And what I discovered over time, and back then we just used email lists. We didn't have any fancy platform for communication. We literally just traded emails. What I discovered is there's also a patience and a safety to that online communication. You can read something, and if you don't understand it, you can literally mull it over. If you're listening in real time and you have to ask a question in real time, there's no mulling. You kind of go into a panic. You don't know how to articulate your thought or your question, and you feel like this is my only chance to get it in. And then the moment passes because you have to keep listening. You can't pause and think about it. You've got to just keep going because this is your only chance. You've got this person live, and it's got to happen right now. Part of this written communication that's become so powerful on the internet in every arena is the pause. You can read something, sit with it, mull it over, and return when you feel ready to address it. Think about all the times that you've posted a comment and deleted it before you hit publish, whether it was on the New York Times or your favorite homeschool blog or in a Facebook post. Because you know you have time. You know it's not required that you get that out right now. That is not the same as a chat, is it? Like when you're in a texting discussion. If too much time goes by, you feel ignored. You think, wait, that person was live a moment ago. Why isn't she still writing back to me? But when we use this sort of asynchronous model, where you can read and then reply when you're ready to reply, we're actually teaching our students to also be thoughtful, to mull things over, to give themselves time to consider before they just burst forward with their not fully formed thoughts yet. Those are all writing skills, and they're really important ones. And they learn them invisibly to them. They just think they're asking a question. They don't realize that all this stuff is going on in their brains, teaching them how to communicate clearly and effectively in writing. They just think I'm typing my question. But that's exactly what's happening. The other feature as a homeschooler that was really important to me was some community experiences. I didn't only want to have everything be the tutorial model. After all, I was already doing a tutorial model just by being a homeschooler. Think about that for a moment. You're already one-on-one with each of your kids. Is that the only group of people you want your kids to compare themselves to enjoy knowing? It's why so many of us join co-ops. We want our kids not only to have the social experience, but like the academic social experience, where there's a shared learning dynamic happening between multiple peers. One of the things our online classes do then is we invite everyone to participate in a public way. The class is private, only to those who've paid to be in it. But what you get to do is post your work or your question, and everyone who's enrolled in the class can read it. Not only that, the instructor will give you meaningful comments on your writing, and everyone can read those too. What that means is you have a writing workshop environment that is safe for taking writing risks, but that shares the wealth of writing feedback. I come from professional writing, as I've shared many times. And in the writing world, the professional world, people meet in groups. They share their writing publicly, and then everyone dialogues over whoever has just shared. Why do we do it that way? Because there is value in hearing like-minded people going through the writing process and then hearing collective feedback. Not just one person's take, but many people's takes. Also, in all these in-person classes that I've ever taught, when a child turns in a piece of writing to me, I am the only audience, which can feel kind of tedious. Like, why am I doing this when all I'm going to get is a grade? There is something about publishing your writing to a group that elevates your commitment to doing a good job. It's the difference between when I assign a paper and an oral presentation in a college class. In the oral presentation mode, these students get a little nervous. They want to stand in front of their peers and not look foolish. And they tend to do a much better job than they do on their papers when I'm the only audience member. What we've discovered over 18 years of Brave Writer is that our kids love having that interplay, the ability to read each other's work. Even the parents who are skeptical or the students who feel timid suddenly discover, oh wait, this is actually pretty cool. Because our environment is safe. We don't attack anyone. We never say anything humiliating. All of our feedback is not just gentle, like we're delivering bad news with nice language. No, it's actually affirming. Our goal is to read the writing as a reader, not as a grader. So our initial engagement is going to be around the quality of the writing. Things like, you drew me in here. I found myself eager to hear how you delivered this point or resolved this conflict. Oh, what an interesting dialogue you put between you and your dog. That's not something I would have imagined before. Your use of onomatopoeia in this section helps wake the reader up, keeps our attention. I love it. Have you considered adding onomatopoeia 2 more paragraphs down where you're in the hen yard? And I feel like I hear what's going on, but I've had to create it for myself. Can you help me create it more? These are the kinds of things that we say in our feedback. We don't say what I call traditional English teacher comments, which is passive voice, question mark, or a squiggly line, and then the word AWK, which is short for awkward. You know, English teacher feedback, which is like these cryptic notes in the margin that you don't know how to apply because you're not ever turning this paper in again. And so how are you going to take awkward and apply it to the paper you haven't yet written? They've shown, these 2 researchers, Knobloch and Brannon, they have shown that there is no relationship between the red marks that a teacher makes on a paper and writing growth for future papers. That has been demonstrated categorically in the research. So we don't do that kind. We have conversations, big juicy conversations around your child's writing in the classroom, in writing. So they are literally reading words that they can return to and reread. I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm a huge rereader. I love to reread my own posts. I love to reread my own writing. I love to reread other people's posts and writing when those help me. Rereading is one of the best ways to train yourself in writing. So one of the benefits of these classes, can you hear? Lots of possibility for rereading. You can literally reread the assignment, reread the feedback, reread your own writing, reread what other people write. You can be in week 4 and go back to week 1 because the whole week 1 is there. It didn't disappear into the ether during a live presentation. Everything is available to you. So our online classes cater to homeschoolers in these ways. We're asynchronous. You can log in whenever it's convenient to you in your time zone. Everything is in reading and writing format. So you're not needing sophisticated technology, headsets, cameras. All you need is the capacity to hook up to the internet. So you can be out in the bush, as a missionary. You can be out on a military base in Okinawa, or you can just be sitting in New York City in your Manhattan apartment. Doesn't matter. Each of our students' writing is read by everyone in the class, and all the instructor feedback on all the writing is available for everyone in the class. We create a community environment so your kids can read peer writing and feedback on peer writing. And our classes are short lengths of time, 3 to 6 weeks, so that you can make a big deep dive commitment, but not so long that you start to interrupt the class with ski vacations, giving birth, select soccer tournaments, just needing a break because your child got tired and needed a break. We try to stay in that zone. And the reason Brave Writer classes are unique beyond all those features is our primary value. And this is what I was sharing last. We give a ton of personal attention to your child's writing. We care about your child's writing. We care about nurturing individuals in writing growth. We don't care so much about grades. We'll give you an unofficial transcript with some credits if you need it for high school. But our primary focus is actually growing writers. We want them to feel read, and we want them to have meaningful comments that they can apply to revise the writing, to grow that specific writing. Most of the pieces kids submit get at least 1 round and sometimes 2 rounds of revision comments, because we want the child to stay engaged. This is not correcting. This is about growing. We're not looking for what your kids are doing poorly and telling them what they should be doing. We're saying, I see what you offered me. Wow, I love this and this and this about it. Here's where you can take it. Here's where it can go. I'm going to guide you and help it go there. Do you want to? That's the spirit of our communication in our online classes. All of our instructors have either been homeschooled or are homeschooling parents, in addition to being published writers. So they come from the 2 skills that I find the most important in instruction for writing: homeschooling and writing. I don't care if they're English teachers. Sometimes being an English teacher is a disadvantage for some of them. So they grow into this other style of writing instruction. Because I come from the professional writing background and model, I have taken what I learned about how to teach writing, how to coach good writing, into the homeschooling arena. And that's partly why our writing program looks so different than others. How many classes do you need to take in a year to fulfill a credit in high school? Or how many classes should a child take? Can they take multiple classes at once? These are all questions I would love to answer. I'm sure some of you are asking them in the comments, but for some reason they're not showing up on my comment feed. So what I will say is this. You don't need to take more than 1 class a year. You could take no classes a year. We have manuals that you can use for self-directed study with your families. But what you might consider, if you enjoy classes, is using them to bolster your writing program. So especially for kids who are between the ages of 11 and 14, they love the independence of our classes like comic strip capers, penning the past, middle school writing projects, writing your own Greek myth. They love those. Write for fun. Any of those kinds of classes give them a sense of autonomy for a short period of time and can really augment what you're doing at home. They might even spur them on when the class is over to carry those same practices into history or science or literature as they follow up. This fall, we have 2 really exciting classes, one that's brand new and one that's pretty new. One's called Skip into Science, and the other is called Spinning a Folktale. And both of these can easily be used again after the class is over. You download the materials, you think about, okay, what other scientific experience can I apply these methods to? What other folktale can I have my child write? You could do that with writing a Greek myth. Journaling Jumpstart is a jumpstart. It gives you multiple ways to engage journaling. Could you just continue after class? Well, of course, if you want to. So part of what these classes do is they give you like a springboard into the pool of writing, like a diving board. You're getting new ideas, new concepts, new assignments, new strategies to continue in your homeschool. We also have some classes that I love to promote called family classes. These are our best bargain for big families. There's one tuition and it covers all your children. So if you take nature journaling and you have 6 kids, you only pay once and all 6 kids get to participate. You're going to go on a nature journaling adventure for a month and everybody gets to be involved. Same for groovy grammar, same for playing with poetry, same for the Shakespeare Family Workshop. These are fabulous ways to test Brave Writer in your family for a really reasonable price because you're only paying once and you can enroll as many kids as you have. We also have book clubs. The Arrow and Boomerang book clubs are built from our language arts tools, the Arrow and the Boomerang. So each month we feature one book and we discuss the discussion questions in the online class. You will get the issue, the guide of the Arrow or the Boomerang for that month in the class. So no need to buy that extra, that's included. And you will do the copywork and dictation parts at home, but the discussion of the book will happen in the club. These are ways for you to sort of test the waters with Brave Writer, to get a feel for what we're about. One of the biggest changes this fall is with our primary class, Kids Write Basic. Kids Write Basic has been the one that we've recommended from the beginning. It's our most popular class, hands down. It has the most sessions. And what I found myself saying every day of my life was, Kids Write Basic covers the first 9 chapters of The Writer's Jungle. And I suddenly realized how silly it was that we didn't just call it The Writer's Jungle Online. And so now that's the new title. So if you're looking for Kids Write Basic, what you want to read now is The Writer's Jungle Online. Same class, we haven't changed it. And what you will be doing is having a companionship, a partnership with an instructor to do those first 9 chapters. And the instructor is going to read your child's writing and give the kinds of feedback we're teaching you how to give your kids so that you see it modeled, you get to experience it firsthand, and you can ask lots of questions so that by the time the class is over, you really are ready to be your child's coach and ally. The Writer's Jungle Online is a phenomenal class. When people ask me, should I buy the book or take the class, I always say, if you can afford it, take the class. And here's why. Most of us in homeschool also need gentle accountability when we're intimidated by a subject. We don't need it when we're good at a subject. If we're great at math, we don't need someone to remind us to do math. If we're good at art, we don't need someone to remind us to do art. But if writing is not your thing, if writing's been the Waterloo in your family, if you feel nervous about teaching writing and you don't feel confident, then triangling in another person and having the gentle accountability of some due dates to move you through the material, to make you prioritize it, is priceless. And you will see such a transformation in your family's writing life by taking that class. I just know from the tens of thousands of families we've had go through that program that you will appreciate it once you've done it. So that's my recommendation for that class. That's a really good one. I should say thousands of families. I don't know how many. I just make up numbers. Don't ever listen to my numbers. I don't know how to count. At least not that high. Does that make sense? So Kids Write Basic is now called The Writer's Jungle Online. And I highly recommend it to you. We have more sessions than we've ever offered in the fall, so there should be plenty of spaces for you. If you want to enroll in the session that is at the beginning of the fall, like August or the first week of September, sign up on the first day of online class registration, which is a week from today. Next week on Monday at noon Eastern, we will open fall class registration. So that's when you want to return to the website and click on register and sign up your kids. You especially want to sign up on the first day if you know the session of the class you want and you know what class you want. We shattered every registration record last year for all 3 seasons of registrations. Shattered. The first day buried us. So I don't know how this year will go. It could change. We've added a lot of sessions to try and compensate for that feeling, but I'm just warning you now. If you want to get in a class and you know what class it is, sign up on day 1 to ensure you get in. I don't want you to come to me with your broken heart that you waited a week and it was gone. Okay? But if you're not ready to sign up, then just know that the later sessions in the fall will be the ones that will have the most space left, because that's pretty much the flow of things. I want to see if there are questions, and I'm wondering if I can find it on Facebook's page. So I'm going to check real quick. Excuse me while I move myself over. Hold on. I know I'm really not supposed to do this, but I'm going to, because I hate not answering questions. Let's see here. It's weird to me how sometimes Facebook lets me see the questions on my phone and other times does not. Okay, let's see. Yeah, okay, well, it looks to me like I can see comments but not questions. It's not really letting me see them in the live feed. Unless maybe I pop this out. Let's see if that works. In the live feed. Oh, that's hilarious. There it is. Okay, let me take a look and see if there are any questions here that I can answer. Is the Writer's Jungle Online a family class or paid per student? Great question. So the Writer's Jungle Online has one price for the first student, and then each additional student has a reduced price. So it's not a family class, but it's also not the same as a per student class. So for instance, you'll pay a price for the first student, but then if you add second, third, fourth student, they each have a cheaper price, and you can just determine how many of those. Great question. Yes, the Writer's Jungle Online is also fantastic for kids with learning challenges. Things like dyslexia, dysgraphia, ADD, learning and auditory processing disorders. The reason is we focus so much on the relationship with the child and really parsing the writing experience so you can tailor it to that child. For someone who said their kid is not that good at typing, here is some ways to help. They can dictate and you can type. You can use text-to-type software. There is the possibility of participation where you're in a class and you're the participant. For family classes, the kids don't type, you do the typing. For Kids Write Basic, you're doing the typing. For classes like Write for Fun or middle school writing projects, you can be the person doing the posting for your child. They do not have to do the posting. So just keep that in mind. We welcome parents and we want to make that possible for them. What else? Okay, this is really good for me to check these out. Good. I think I covered the majority of the questions. So what I want you to take from this session is this. The registration opens next Monday at noon Eastern for fall classes. Kids Write Basic is now called the Writer's Jungle Online. And if you have any questions about specific classes for your family, you can contact us at help@bravewriter.com, and somebody will be happy to help you pick the classes that are for you. The MLA essay class requires you to submit an essay if your child is not 16. So if you have a child younger than 16 who is interested, we need to see an essay. If your child is 16 or older, we like it if they've taken an essay class, either with us or somewhere else, so that this isn't their very first experience with academic expository essay writing. But that class is limited. We only allow 10 people in it. Suzanne just literally busts her hump in that class. It is a tough class to teach, but she does a phenomenal job. So if you have kids going off to college, that is a great class. The last thing I'll say is this. Our online class program majors on this devoted communication. We give you a lot of personal attention, and that is why our classes cost what they do, and it's why I'm committed to training instructors to be really, really top-notch. Because this is not just about correcting English papers. This is about transforming a relationship with writing for you and for your kids. And I take it very seriously. Our training process for our new teachers is rigorous. We had 200 applicants and we hired like 10 people. We are really committed to giving you high quality care when you're in our orbit. So thanks for joining me today. I hope that answered as many of your questions as I could. Feel free to continue to post questions in the comments and I will look at them. Don't forget that we are still taking registrations for the writing conference on September 8th and 9th in Austin, Texas. You can click on whatever link they posted. We still have space for you. And finally, August 1 and 2 have 4 free webinars, and you are welcome to sign up for those at whatever that link was. I look forward to all the ways we engage. I'll see you next Monday at registration. There will be no Facebook Live on Monday when we open registration. It will just be registration all morning, and then we'll meet back here in 2 weeks. Bye, everybody.